the number one red flag that we see when we're looking at HR materials is the full lens that the materials are written through is a risk-centric approach. Certainly, we understand that an organization is a legal entity, that protecting the organization is going to be a priority for leaders within that organization. That is what they're hired and sworn to do. And we've really seen a pattern of, it's so clear that the lawyer wrote this, that the lawyer was the first, middle, and last draft, and that there hasn't been that insertion of from an employee lens. And when we think about these handbooks or policy guides, they are often like the first thing that your employees are going to see after being hired, right? This is sort of the first part of that narrative for them about where do I work and what have I agreed to? And it is, even if it's not explicit in the pages, it is very noticeable when these documents have come through we are primarily protecting the organization, not you. And that sets a relationship, right? It sets a tone for the relationship. So how can we, of course, protect the organization, but also have a lens of mutual benefit? And that might mean sometimes that the lawyer does take the first draft, but then we're also having a committee of employees, or we're having someone whose sole responsibility is people and talent look at it through that lens too, so that we are meeting in the middle and it's not coming across as our primary goal is to protect the company and not to ensure not only an employee's happiness, but also their protection as well, as we talk about things that are DEIB focused. The NDA, the non-compete, all of these legalities and some of these documents, we see these as the first things, right? So you're opening the handbook and this is what it is. You can't say anything. You can't work anywhere else. Sign this policy. We know that there's some, sexual harassment in particular, statements that have to be acknowledged and signed, and training, all of that compliance stuff. We're not saying you can't do it. It's just, does it really need to be first? Does it need to be part of the first thing in this onboarding process? Does it need to be front stage? Can it be compartmentalized in a way that we acknowledge that this has to be done, and that it is important? We're not trying to downplay the importance of those things, but how are we balancing the culture, the community? What's in it for the employee? We're so glad you're here, and here's what you're going to get for being here. And here's things to get you excited about this, rather than like, oh, I'm already on eggshells because I just signed my life away. And then another thing that we see in this risk-centric approach is clearly something happened in this organization, and then they went and wrote a whole policy about it. So like, if we're talking about, now we have a whole policy about the temperature it can be in the lunchroom on Wednesdays. Somebody messed with that thermostat on Wednesday once, and then they wrote a whole policy, and it makes no sense to new people coming in. And it is probably an overreaction to the situation that was just mishandled. And so we're often redlining those policies to be like, help us understand why you really need this to be a policy. Or was this a conversation that never happened? And now all of a sudden it's made its way into your handbook. Because again, it might have made a certain situation in the moment feel better, or at least put it aside. But new folks coming in are reading this and they have no idea. But now they think, this is an organization that cares about itself first. So I'm going to adopt that attitude too. Because if they're going to be out here legal, then I'm going to be out here legal as well. And this place is messy. And that just, again, is not starting a relationship off on a great foot when we have this clearly risk-centric approach. We want employees to see themselves first. They want to see themselves reflected. They want to see themselves centered in your handbook, in your policies. And then we can spoonful of sugar it with some of these legal things as well.